Hi, I'm Luke Tanaka, and I'm here with Elmhurst men's basketball coach John Baines. And coach, just a thrilling, a really great win against number one Augustana last Wednesday. Some would say perhaps the biggest regular season win in Elmhurst program history. Uh, now they have a chance to look back on it. What does this mean for your program? What does it mean for your players, not only for continuing success, but for the rest of this season?
Sure. Well, I mean, on a small scale, it was what we had to do if we're going to win the league. You have to defend your home court, and so that was probably the number one thing. I think from a grand perspective, um, this group's put a lot of work in, and I think it was really nice to see them finally get something that they can pin their hat to and say, that it's kind of come to fruition now. We've got a really good basketball team, and we can play with anybody in the nation. And you say it a lot, but when you beat the number one team, then it becomes a reality.
You said the rebounding advantage would be critical against the Vikings. You out-rebound them 46 to 41, and you've out-rebounded teams by 10 rebounds per game on the season. What's led to the prowess on the boards?
I think it's a big emphasis that we put on it. We've got good players there at all the positions. We've got good rebounding guards, but it's an emphasis in our program, and it's an emphasis on Augie's program too. So that's why I think every time we play them, it becomes something that if you win the rebounding, we know we got a good shot at winning.
It comes down to the end. Will Nixon's tip-in is called good, and then they go to the review. It's overturned. What do you tell a team that just had the fans storm the court to then get prepared for the overtime session?
I just told him I can't believe our sports information director was so thorough with the camera. But no, I didn't even know we could go back to the camera in Division III. I said, from now on, I'm going to be asking people, can we go to the camera? Can we go to the camera? But no, we have a really mature group. We sat down, and I didn't have to do any rah-rah stuff or pump them up or anything. They really just said, hey, let's win it from here. And it's really easy to say after the fact, you wanted to win, but I would have hated to had that tip count and go back and see it later, and then I think it would have diminished what our players had done. Uh, we won that game and in good fashion and won in overtime whenever we didn't get the tip. So I think it was even better for our players that way.
Going back to the rebounding once again, the offensive rebounding, Augustana had 19 of them, including at the end of regulation when you had to watch the defense play from 2:15 on the clock to 39 seconds on the clock continuously as Augustana had 4 chances at the basket, and then Pat Coleman gets a critical steal, which was able to stifle that possession finally. What are you thinking on the sideline while you're watching your starting five play defense for that long?
Well, we'd rebounded really well for the course of the game, and so that was a little surprising to me. We'd gone to a zone a little bit because Hunter Hill had gotten into the lane a lot on us, and I think it's a little bit harder for us to rebound out of the zone. So I think some of that played into there. But there was just some tip balls. Those are just. It wasn't as if there wasn't any effort. It was just they were just grabbing them. But I give our guys credit. They made that stand, and that was a huge steal by Pat because Gray had just kind of flattened them out and let Hunter Hill kind of go one-on-one. And what you had seen, he'd beat Oshkosh doing that and just made a couple shots at the end. And so that was a huge steal. And Pat was just really, you could see after he made the play, he knew that that was a huge one for us.
And then the play of your bigs was really large for you guys, and 10 block shots on the game, and then really late in the game it was key. I mean, 8 points in overtime for Nixon and Crittenden, 3 block shots for Nixon and Crittenden, which all 3 of them came, I think, with the less than a minute left, whether it was regulation or overtime. Talk about the play of those bigs and how critical it was down the stretch from, say, 10 seconds to go in regulation all the way through overtime.
Well, Crit had really gotten aggressive offensively with his game and was really pushing at the basket. Will, as I said to you about a week or so ago, the thing that's really developed with him is just his on-the-ball defense. He's always been a good secondary defender, but, that last play where Motzel took it and it was just a clean block. I said, there's not too many centers that can guard a guy from the top of the key on a drive, block the shot, not foul him, and we come up with it. So that was huge. I think our bigs are playing really well interior defense wise, and now they've stretched that out to the perimeter, and they're guarding a lot better on the perimeter, and that's really helping our defense. But those guys were huge.
Looking at the stat sheet, most of the statistics were in your favor, but then there's the turnover battle where they really struggled against Augustana's pressure defense. How do you limit the turnovers going forward?
We showed some film the day after. I felt like there were times where we were open and could have easily beaten the press, but we just didn't make the passes or the cuts that we needed to. They took us out of what we wanted to do, but I give him credit, Coach Giovanni. That's what they do. It's something they're very good at. We knew that they pressed. We worked on it for 2 days. I think until you actually are going up against it, it's just hard to replicate. And so I'm hoping when we go there that obviously we can take better care of the ball. But I think what made up for that was the advantage a little bit on the glass, and then we held them to, I believe 34, 35% shooting. So I think that's how we even that out a little bit.
And then after a draining, thrilling, physically, emotionally game, you have to go on the road to Decatur, one of the toughest road trips in the conference. Milliken, obviously a very tough team. You can't take a night off in this conference. How do you get a team motivated for a game against the Big Blue after perhaps one of the biggest wins in program history?
Well, if you want the truth, I gave them Thursday off. That was I think over the years we've kind of learned, the Augustana game is always a really physical game on both sides. And when it's a Saturday game, you always have the Sunday off. When it's a Wednesday game, especially with an older, experienced group, we just said we wanted to have a fresh team for Saturday as opposed to coming back and having a 2-hour practice and going at it again. So we gave the guys the day off. We watched some film and kind of let them get their legs back, and emotionally they could turn the page when they came back on Friday. But I was happy with how we played down at Milliken. They were really scrappy. Matt's got them playing really hard, and we got about a 10, 11 point lead, and we could never really blow it open, and that's a lot of credit to his guys. And but it was a good win for us. It's human nature. That's really a hard transition to go from Wesleyan at home to an Augustana team at home and 2 big games, and then going on the road to Decatur in just a different environment and taking a long trip. And so I was happy with the guys.
33 points from your bench after each starter played 30-plus minutes in the game against Augustana. How important in such a tough conference is it to have a second unit that is seasoned and experienced with 5 seniors in that second unit?
Well, sure. We got shortened down a little bit against Augustana. I think Kyle was playing really well, and Peyton Wyatt and Brandon Schwebke, I give Augustana credit. They really didn't let them get off on the 3-point line. And I even joked to Peyton after the game. I said, congratulations. I said, now you're on the scouting report. I said, people are going to guard you. They're not going to just let you go free. And so we went down to Milliken, and it was really nice to see them break open. Aaron Crittenden was injured at Milliken, so Brandon Schwebke came in and played really well. And Peyton led us in scoring, and I give Kyle Wiest a lot of credit, as being our best player. Down the stretch we had a big possession, and I told him to come off the on ball and come off of a screen, and I said Peyton's going to be open over here, and a lot of guys would be aggravated that they're not taking that shot, and he delivered it, and Peyton knocked down a shot to put us up 10 and kind of sealed the game. So I think that's the character of our group. It's I don't think they really care who scores, and I think that's why you have a good bench, because they share the ball and everybody's getting along.
The road swing continues this week with a couple of road games. First, you go up to Carthage, and they beat you here at Elmhurst last season. They don't have a whole lot of size in their rotation this season, so how do you exploit that?
Well, we always try to get on the glass against them, but they've given us probably as much trouble the last couple of years as anyone. They put a lot of shooters on the floor. If you think about the game we played this year versus Alma, which we won at the buzzer here, it's a similar type of team. A team that puts 5 guys on the floor who can shoot. They're not a particularly large team, and with Alma we out-rebounded them, but their 4s and 5s made some shots. And so it's always an unusual matchup for us, because that really puts some pressure on our bigs to really guard 3 men is what it comes down to. So hopefully we can get out to the perimeter and guard that.
And then on Saturday it'll be at Wheaton, a game that you lost last season. What will it take to flip the script this year against the Thunder?
You know, right now I'm thinking about Carthage, but with Wheaton, they shoot it particularly well, and they have one really good post player, Michael Berg. Um, they're kind of a younger group, but their young guys are starting to now play really well. They're much better than their record shows. They only lost to Augie by 4 at Augustana, and they really had control of that game for a long period of time. And that'll be a tough game. Oh, anytime you play over there, I think it's a tough one. On the road, you're just looking for wins. I tell people 2-point wins on the road in this league are just fine. So it's a big week for us.
Good luck in your big week, and thank you for joining me here.
Thanks a lot, Luke.